Which rookie running back is everyone sleeping on right now? Who is the NFC North breakout that you should be bumping up your draft boards? And what NFC East rusher might have a big end to the 2025 season? Join us tonight as we welcome back onto the show John Terry, a man who has won multiple dozens, maybe even hundreds of FFPC leagues over the year. He is on tonight because he is the 2024 Genesis champion, and he's here to talk about his 2025 Genesis draft. We've got a great show for you. Ferrell Elliott is here. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than these a lesson.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man. Nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Balkaholics and Ferrelliacs on this special Wednesday night edition of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. It's our latest episode, and it's presented by the Fantasy Football Players Championship at myffpc.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. You can follow me on X and connect with me there at Eric Balkman, Eric with a C. My co-host is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, Ferrell Elliott. Coming up on tonight's show, we'll not only get into the minutia of the Derrick Henry extension and what that means for dynasty and redraft players out there. We'll also talk about some rookies tonight, including but not limited to Taj Brooks and Tet McMillan. John Terry is also going to join us to talk about his 2025 Genesis draft, the likelihood that he repeats there. We'll talk about some of his picks that I thought were interesting, including Josh Jacobs, Chris Olave, the Bears running backs, and so much more. And that's what's coming up on the show. The show is brought to you by the FFPC. If you have any questions for us, send us the email at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. At hsffhour, you can find the show on X, and of course at FFPC, myffpc.com. Check out the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship at KFFSC.com as well. Facebook.com/hsffhour. Anywhere you want to connect with us, we'll try to get to all of those coming up later on at the end of the show in the fantasy feedback segment. Shout out to our audio engineer and my best friend Bryce, and of course our producer and mutual friend Rob. The FFPC Best Ball and Superflex Best Ball tournaments are open. A $300,000 grand prize for the $125 version. The $35 entry will feature a $100,000 grand prize. And don't forget, in the Best Ball tournament this year, we have a $100,000 runner-up prize. So you don't even have to win the thing, and you get a six-figure prize. Drafts available with 30-second, 60-second, 2- and 6-hour clocks. Same thing going on with the FFPC Big Gorilla Tournament. $1 million grand prize. You'll get a $50 discount on every third team. Drafts already off and running, both live and slow, at those same levels I mentioned for the Best Ball tournaments. The Early Rampage Tournament and the Seven Bananas promos are live as well. For more information on that, and all the extra stuff we're doing for the Big Gorilla this year, check it out at myffpc.com. Our flagship event is off and running. You've probably seen a few boards, or at least sections of boards, on X and on social media for our FFPC Main Event slow drafts, which are going on. Started about a week and a half ago, and we'll have in about 2 weeks live main events for you as well. Sign up by May 31st. You got about 17 days left to do that. You'll not only get $200 off your first team for that early bird discount, but your name will be entered into the FFPC Pros versus Joes drawing. Remember, the 42 Joes that are selected in that will be going up against 42 industry pros, and the winner of each one of those 7 drafts will win a 2026 FFPC Main Event entry. I apologize. I don't know what I'm talking about there. Slow drafts off and running, myffpc.com. Dynasty startups available as well at myffpc.com. Entry fees ranging from $100 to $5,000. 1,800 plus leagues over the last decade and a half. None have ever folded. If you play Dynasty with the FFPC, you are locked and loaded at myffpc.com for the long haul. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share with your friends, share with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live. James Hicks is already in the chat. Shout out to James Hicks. We got Oinker hanging out with us tonight. Room for one more, I think so. Connect with him at kffsc.com. He is the commissioner there. He is the one, the only, the incomparable Ferrell Elliott. Ferrell, good Wednesday evening to you, my friend.
Buddy, it is good to see you, and it appears that we're getting close to time for a haircut. You know, when it does not, the little box off to the side before you bring me on, when the hair won't fit into the little box, that's probably that's probably my cue. You get cues in lives where you can get them from. It's so great you let Oinker come out early and say hello to James. It's wonderful.
Ferrell, I mentioned everything going on with the FFPC. For anybody who subscribes to the KFFSC mailer, we had another reminder from you. The $10,000 KFFSC Best Ball Tournament off and running as well shortly here. Live drafts will start next month, and the slows, I think, will be starting shortly too.
It slows as soon as we can fill them up. And there's some guys that jumped in it today, and we will, we'll run this tournament for as long as it takes to fill it. We're not in any hurry to fill it. However, the first live event is June 15th, one that you are playing in as well, Balky. That's the Always Dreaming division. And some people want to play in it just because it's in the Always Dreaming division. Great memories of that horse. Unfortunately, that's probably the last Derby winner I've called properly.
It happens. That happens. Yeah. But it is what it is.
But, we'd love everyone to come and play. It's a 96-team championship, a $300 entry fee. Lots of good prizes, the best being the $10,000 that'll be won by our eventual championship. It's our Sweet 16 format. Great competition throughout. And, that's all I can say about it is it's a full season league, and it's a whole lot of fun. So come play it.
The Always Dreaming division already more than halfway full. The Old Fashioned division, which is the other one that I'm in right now, just to start, that is nearly half full as well. So check that out at kffsc.com.
Hey, Rubio gave us some plugs.
Yeah,
you're not using plugs. That's a good idea.
He is in the, if anybody knows, anybody who's in the t-shirt game that can come up with a silhouette t-shirt of my beard and Ferrell's hair, I think that would be, because I think that's iconic in the high stakes fantasy football industry as far as podcasts go. Your cabbage on top and my soup strainer, my beard on my face. It's iconic.
Can't expect a man to walk around with a plain beard, Bulky.
Yeah, that's true. I can expect Derrick Henry to never slow down, Ferrell. And apparently that's what the Ravens expect him to do as well, because they have signed him to a 2-year, $30 million contract extension. Per Ian Rappaport from the NFL Network, he is the first running back over the age of 30 to make $15 million a year. Last offseason, he signed a 2-year, $16 million deal, ran roughshod over the NFL, and was unbelievable. 1,900 plus rushing yards, 16 touchdowns. It got him the raise, and this probably, I don't want to say, there are no guarantees in life, but I would say this is as close to a guarantee that Derrick Henry is probably going to finish his career as a Baltimore Raven.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I'm going with there. Now, in the Big Gorilla tournament, over the last week, we have seen Derrick Henry's ADP on Fantasy Mojo, at Fantasy Mojo on X, fantasymojo.com. Darren Armani, the godfather of the Pros vs. Joes Challenge. Anytime we cite FFPC ADP data, it is from his website. Strongly encourage you to get a subscription to Fantasy Mojo if you play in the FFPC. Derrick Henry right behind Devon Achane and Christian McCaffrey. He's going right ahead of Jonathan Taylor and Bucky Irving. Running back 7 at the 204. Ferrell, when you look at this as a 2-year extension, does this give you the warm fuzzies enough to say, hey, maybe he's not great in 2026, but if the Ravens are giving him a 2-year contract right now, he sure as heck should be good in 2025, and you can feel good at taking him at the 204.
He'll be good until he decides to hang up his helmet and his shoes. This player knows that there's 2 themes that we have, at least coming from me on the show, and I've seen the beard and the head shaking in simultaneous fashion, is that Derrick Henry is a must-draft player for your fantasy football team. He is, and we've had commentary, especially from the pros, which, we love arguing with the pros come July. especially from the pros, about he can't keep going. Well, yes, he can. But the main reason, the second theme that we've talked about, is what all players are doing in the league to lengthen their careers. And Derrick Henry is the foremost and the most well-informed athlete about nutrition and training and what he needs to do. And he's been doing it for a long time. He's 31 years old, 5.9 yards a carry last year. We talked about also the fact that he would go to Baltimore and play behind an offensive line that is one of the better ones in the league, and is against defenses that were challenged with the idea of Lamar Jackson being a running quarterback. And, just they didn't use it often, but they have a 311-pound fullback, and they used it often enough and to run in front of Henry. I love everything about this, and I don't understand. When I looked at the KFFSC, our first main event draft of the year, I do understand Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson put up some very good numbers last year and has a chance to catch 60 balls. Barkley, of course, Gibbs is an exciting player, but then the other players that went in front of him, Genty, who is yet to do anything in the NFL. That doesn't trouble me, but he's doing it for a team that's got a lot of holes to fill. Achan, McCaffrey, all those players drafted in front of Henry. Chuck Root, our good friend Chuck Root in the KFFSC, waited, and at the 2-8, he nabbed Henry and maybe is on his way to a championship. So I think if you're playing fantasy football and you can get Henry on your roster, do it sooner rather than later. It's the best move you can make.
I think the other thing to keep in mind, too, the most significant thing that the Ravens did in the offseason as far as skill position players go was adding DeAndre Hopkins at wide receiver. That's not a needle mover for me, and they did nothing in the draft to address any receivers, running backs, tight ends. So I'd like to think that the offense will be very, very similar to what it was last year. And I know he probably won't hit 1,900 rushing yards again. He doesn't have to at the 204. He can definitely pay off. For the first time, I may be taking Derrick Henry in a lot of drafts, Ferrell, because I do like this ADP for him right now.
I do too.
Speaking of AFC North bruising running backs, let's talk Caleb Johnson here. Mike DeFabo, who covers Pittsburgh for The Athletic, called Caleb Johnson a, quote, schematic fit for the Steelers. Now, that's not the interesting part about this. He was a third-round pick last month. He was listed as a co-starter on the depth chart alongside Jaylen Warren. This is like old school meat and potatoes Mike Tomlin. I mean, where you don't hand rookies anything, right? They got to work for it. Even if they're the most talented player, they still got to work for it. He's already listed as co-starter with Jaylen Warren. And you think about Arthur Smith's offense, it's run first, and they're going to use both these running backs. Only 3 college running backs last year had more zone rushes than Johnson. And according to DeFabo, his goals in offseason practices for Johnson is learn the playbook, earn the coaching staff's trust, hope of becoming an every down back sooner rather than later. Now, pass blocking needs work. Jaylen Warren, one of the best pass blocking running backs in the NFL, Ferrell. But the lead to me here is this is black and blue football where rookies have to earn their stripes. And already Caleb Johnson sitting on top of the draft, on top of the depth chart for the Steelers. And it's worth mentioning because Caleb Johnson's mojo right now, 608 as running back 25, not even being drafted as a top 24 running back. This is juicy to me.
Not drafted like a co-starter, but, Balky. I mean, you're carrying the wood over here. I'm called co-host, but you see who's doing all the work. Okay. Caleb Johnson. I love this. This is perfect May. What do they call him? The schematic fit.
Yes.
Oh, my word. Okay. I believe when you draft a player like this, he would fit everywhere else if he's going to fit here. We're not the schematic. Okay. Maybe I'm looking at that too difficult. I probably need to leave that alone. But what did we say, Balky? We said that, you can get Genty very, very early in this draft for NFL teams, but there will be value throughout this draft at the running back position. This is an example of it. They could be very big things for this player. And he's going to carry the rock because of all the reasons you said. There's no reason not to draft this player at value right now, and he'll be going higher. Let's see him in the preseason do some things too, but he'll be going higher as we head towards Las Vegas and the Paris Hotel at the FFPC Main Event. He'll be going with all the Pittsburgh Steelers fans that we have here in Kentucky. He's likely to be a higher draft pick here than perhaps even out there.
Yeah, I think there's a curve, right, where these rookies start off, hot and heavy in redraft because everybody's got rookie fever from Dynasty, and then it kind of slacks off again. But I think as we get closer, especially with the Northern Kentucky and then obviously the Louisville event for KFFSC, that's when these guys will start building up steam again as potential league winners. Is Caleb Johnson a potential league winner? I'm not ready to put that moniker on him yet, but I certainly wouldn't rule that out at this point of the season.
Don't draft him in front of Henry.
No,
hey,
wise words. This is why you come and watch this show.
You're going to introduce our host or our guest tonight, but
yeah,
I got to tell you, when you talk about schematic fit, when you prepare for the show with other guests, I tend to want to dig into some of the questions, and I want to also say what I'm thinking. What do you think? And have a give and take. But we've got a guy coming in tonight that I would be more like I would try to be a surgeon and try to dissect this brain of fantasy football that lives, eats, and loves fantasy football at such a level that is beyond even our most passionate players. And you're going to introduce him later, but I just maybe he'll talk about, I've talked a lot about Henry, and I just made some comments that were largely worthless about this player, but there will be more in-depth conversation about every player because this guy pulls no punches, Balky, and he certainly is not shy to share his opinion.
Yeah, and that's what's so great. And without further ado, I think we bring him on right now.
You want to bring him on now?
I'm bringing him right now.
I think we need your patented introduction.
Well, here's how I'll set it up. On the road of his high stakes lowdown last week, I had Josh Siegel on, and there are a few players that I've had on these shows before. Some of them I'll take the time to count up how many league championships they've won in Dynasty, Big Gorilla, Main Event, or whatever. Josh Siegel's not one of them because he's just won too many of them. And another player that falls into that category that I would never sit and count how many league championships this guy's won in the FFPC is tonight's guest. He's just won too many. I'm not going to bother with it. I will introduce him as a guy who's won dozens, and I said maybe even hundreds. I don't know the exact number of FFPC.
You're not an auditor. You don't. Audit.
No, I'm not. I'm not an auditor. I'm not a math guy. But I'll bring him on right now as the defending champion of the 2024 FFPC Genesis League, a league that you saw the 2025 edition on this program a couple weeks ago, as Ferrell and I covered it pick by pick, and we're gonna delve into this guy's draft tonight. Please welcome back onto these airwaves, JTAJ himself. It is Mr. John Terry. John, what is up tonight? Thanks so much for hanging out.
Look at that.
Hey, how you guys doing? Hey, Balky. Hey, Ferrell.
We're doing good, man. We're doing good. I want to, because I got long-winded in that first segment. I want to pitch you a couple of the stories that we were going to talk about here to kick things off. And I'll start in Detroit, in the Motor City. Tim Twentyman, who covers the Lions, John, said that John Morton, who's the new OC for Detroit, taking over for Ben Johnson, said it's going to, quote, be a breakout year for Jamison Williams. Morton said he was never around somebody as fast as Williams. And then he corrected himself to say, well, maybe Jahmyr Gibbs, because he's been around Jahmyr Gibbs so far this season as well. Jamison Williams last year, I didn't even realize this, just crept over the 1,000-yard level, 58 catches, 1,001 receiving yards, and 7 touchdowns. And I think, and I don't know how much he affects Amon-Ra St. Brown. Quite frankly, I'm not drafting Amon-Ra St. Brown any differently based on this quote. But I think based on this dude being the OC, John, the fact that Jamison Williams is wide receiver 33 right now at the 608, he becomes more intriguing for me. How much stock are you putting into what Jamison Williams' offensive coordinator is saying about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good sign, but I guess my question would be just how many passing yards and touchdowns is Detroit going to have? And if there's going to be a substantial increase in his production, where's it coming from?
Mm.
Because, I mean, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Laporta, and Gibbs. And if all those guys are healthy, I mean, there's no way Jameson Williams is going to be like a 100-catch guy. Like that's
there you go. There we go.
But
Write that one down, Balky.
He could add some yards and touchdowns, but I think it depends. I like the player. I just don't. I'm not going to read too much into that early season comment from the OC. The only early season comments I usually pay attention to are if they say something negative.
Yeah, that's true. And they don't do that often. But, guys, it might be an offensive coordinator's idea of a great increase of volume could be 10 catches. His idea could be completely different from what we consider a huge increase in volume, because that might one catch every other game might mean a lot to him as he scripts his plays.
Yeah.
John, just the Detroit offense under John Morton, no Ben Johnson there in general. Do you find yourself, I guess, what's your level of concern? Because when you have it's still the same head coach. It's still a very similar offense. The personnel is very similar. But what do you think the Ben Johnson effect is going to be on the Lions offense with him not being there anymore?
I don't think there's going to be a huge impact of him leaving, only because the system is there. Everybody knows it. I mean, they're not going to try to change something that's not broken. I mean, it'd be better if Johnson was still there, but it's not going to really impact how I view their players.
He taught them the way, and he moves on, and he leaves it behind.
Yeah. I have a little bit of regret in one of my dynasty leagues where I hemmed and hawed over two players, and I think it was in the third round. And the player that I didn't choose, I think I'm having whatever the opposite of buyer's remorse is, because I didn't buy him, so I can't have remorse. So non-buyer's remorse, I don't know. Saad Yousuf, who covers the Cowboys for The Athletic, said that by the end of the year, Jaden Blue is going to be the Cowboys' number one guy at running back. And this is the guy I passed up, John. He thinks Javonte Williams is going to be the leading guy early in the season, but he thinks Blue is going to end up getting more carries and leading the team in rushing. We have seen this before, especially more so with rookie receivers than I think rookie running backs, but it has happened with running backs as well, where it takes them a while to get used to the NFL, get used to the speed, get used to the competition, and obviously, the grind, which is going to be a little bit longer than what they're used to in college. When you consider the case for Jaden Blue right now, and the mojo on him is running back 42 at the 10-11. John, if Yousuf is right here in his prediction, then this is a massive bargain for Jaden Blue here. But I think the fact that he is falling to that 10-11 turn makes me think that FFPC players are not necessarily buying into him. How do you feel about Blue and how his rookie season is going to go in Big D?
Well, I mean, I definitely took some shares of him in my dynasty rookie drafts, but I think you just have to be careful when you really are valuing a player because everybody else on the team at the position kind of stinks, right? So, I mean, he could be. I mean, how excited would you be to have like Rico Dowdle from last year? Because that's probably like best case scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he was pretty mediocre. So I don't know. I mean, he's the only one in that backfield that's got the potential. I don't see Javonte Williams having a big comeback, and I don't think that. I think Miles Sanders is probably over the hill. So it's potential. I mean, it's definitely worth drafting him where he's going now.
I've already lost my bet. I had the under on I don't know at like half. I thought you might say I don't know. Oh, I really do know. A lot of talk today as the schedule was announced. A lot of talk today about 18-game season, and players think the season has got too long for 17 games. And you've got an injured running back at Denver that who's fought off a lot of injuries, and now he's coming to Dallas. And you know, he's a grinder and he's tough, and I like him. He's just not going to cede this position to this young running back. And so I think it's an interesting article to make a statement that, you know, a player that's been a little injury prone could be worn down, and Blue would be the guy at the end of the year. Yeah, that's not the hardest and farthest fetched thing to possibly say. But Balky, can you work on your Will Ferrell imitation of "That's My Boy Blue" and start?
I blow at your everybody's microphone right now.
Yeah, but we're going to hear
my boy Blue.
There we go. There you go. Boy. This is very good, by the way.
Didn't that
sound like Will Ferrell?
I can't sing the Kansas song though, where he hits that high note when he's singing "Dust in the Wind." That I cannot do. that I cannot do. And if I did that, Ferrell, if I tried, there'd be dogs going crazy right now.
So Balky, you can do anything. You're the most talented guy I've ever met. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no. By the way, Stephen Gorgalos. Stephen. I'm probably mispronouncing.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, I know. I'm probably mispronouncing your name. But he's our T-shirt guy to get the T-shirt thing going, Ferrell. And he said Jaden Blue for Travion Henderson in Kentucky. I'm assuming Travion Henderson. No, I would not be doing that. I think that iron is not nearly hot enough for that to happen yet. So I want to move on to your Genesis draft here, John. You drafted this team the Friday after the NFL draft was completed. I have the board up here. I think I do. Yeah, I have the board up here. I'm going to throw it up here so everybody can see it, just so we're all on the same page when I'm talking about these players. But you were picking from the the 5 spot here, and obviously Bowers, AJ Brown, okay, number 1 and 2. Your number 3 pick is the one I want to ask about right now in Josh Jacobs. So Green Bay obviously switched to a power running team last year. Whether that was due in part to the Jordan Love knee injury that he suffered in week 1, maybe, I don't know. But they already had Josh Jacobs before that. 2 wideouts get drafted by the Packers in the first 3 rounds this year. And so much to the point, like Jaden Reed had to have a sit down with Brian Gutekunst to find out what his role is actually going to be on the team this year. The Packers have a super crowded wide receiver room. Are you worried that Green Bay could flip again and go back to more of a passing attack, not only with Dobbs and Reed and Wicks, but now Matthew Golden and Savion Williams? You took Josh Jacobs at the 305 in Genesis. Clearly, this is not at least a big concern for you.
Yeah, no, it's not really a concern at all. I mean, I know they spread the ball around a lot, but in my mind, Golden's got potential, right? First time they've taken a wide receiver in round 1 there, and he could be good. But everybody else that they have at wide receiver, I mean, what's their top end? They're not that talented of players in my mind. I don't think Watson's going to play a lot. I mean, he's probably going to be hurt. Dobbs is pretty mediocre. Reed is good, but he's limited in what he can do. I just don't see any reason with the success that Jacobs has had last year why they would go away from that.
Yeah, I will say to your point too, John, the Packers, yeah, they drafted Golden, yeah, they drafted Williams, but you know, the other thing they did, they signed, I always forget his name, Aaron Banks from San Francisco, the big guard. He's going to be the left guard. He's going to be the guy that shifted Elton Jenkins to center. As long as Jenkins shows up, we'll see on that. But Banks is a huge guy. He's one of the biggest linemen that the Packers have had under Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur. And then in the second round, they take another guy who's so big, and Anthony Belton out of NC State. His nickname's Cadillac, or his name, not Cadillac, it's Escalade is his nickname. And so to me, that's like, if you need any more proof that the Packers are not going to be a power running team this year, that's exhibits A and B to me. They're still going to want to pound the ball as much as they can. And I can't remember who said it. Somebody within the Packers organization said, come December, big doesn't get little. So you know that, like, when the money's on the line and you're trying to win $1 million in the Big Gorilla or the main event, you could put a lot of faith into Josh Jacobs here.
I think Balky summed it up perfectly, John, don't you?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Right. I mean, and that I love it, Balky, when your insider Packer information sort of seeds to the top, and it permeates all our Green Bay conversation. I have one of the most ridiculous questions probably to ask you, but our friend Jasmine Jade checks in earlier. I spoke with her today and told her that we had one of the most wonderful guest ever to come on the show, and John Terry. And she says, "Oh, I'll see him in Kentucky then." And I said, "Well, there's no guarantee of that." So I don't want to get too far deep into this. People have come up to me and said, "When's John Terry getting here?" This has happened for the last couple of years. And, no one has agency or permission to complain about the John Terry in Kentucky, but I will say he is not coming. And they will get a look of disgust on their face. And they'll shake their head. And they'll be sullen and sad for a moment. And, and I have to keep a good, strong, hard face in that kind of situation. And so, we got a lot of people down here that are, and I really think, John, because of your record as a player, I think they kind of think that they can get you down here for a year or two, and they might be able to beat you because this is their home turf. And so, I think you need to invade in the South and prove to them that John Terry is a champion on any turf. So here comes my question. When you get to Kentucky, where you must start 3 wide receivers, when you get to Kentucky, will one of them be Tet McMillan? And if you are drafted, you drafted him in like the 5th round of some draft or something. I'm curious about this. Did you forget who his quarterback was? That's my biggest question.
No, and I mean, I think that is the biggest question with him. I mean, Bryce Young was really solid at the end of last year. The question is he going to keep that up and progress from there? Or is he going to revert to the quarterback we've seen him be in the past? And I'm willing to take a gamble on Tet. I know that seems it might seem a little early. I think that's around his ADP, which is pretty aggressive right now. Mm-hmm. But I was a little behind the ball at wide receiver, starting with Bowers, and then I took an early QB, and then I took Jacobs. So, I mean, there were a lot of receivers that went right before him that I would have rather had, but I'm not afraid to draft Tet.
Well, you don't live in fear. You don't live. Here's the question: is Tet going to catch more passes than the quarterback gets sacked? Because the quarterback got sacked 68 times last year. Balky, is that a correct number, or am I just pulling that out of my head?
You might be pulling it out of thin air, but maybe you're right on that.
Over and under on the receptions of 68 for Tet.
Oh, over under 68. That's a pretty good number.
68's a good number?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll take the over. I could see him getting to the low 70s.
Low 70s. I'm going to tell you about something about your low 70s in the 5th round here. You could have had Pittman.
I have to have some production or a bell I ring every time we bring up on this show. But we got to do something like that.
Oh God.
62 sacks for Bryce Young in his rookie year, Ferrell. Last year, only sacked 29 times.
What's wrong with me? I can't read the stat lines anymore.
That's okay. Numbers mean nothing.
Yeah, they do.
So I want to bring up the draft board here once again. Ooh, there I go. So if we look at this, John, at the 608 here, you take Chris Olave. This was the round after you took Tet McMillan. This is from the 5 spot for anybody who's following along. The Saints are obviously a mess at quarterback. It got more messy when Derek Carr decided to announce his retirement. Is this a buying opportunity for Chris Olave drafters right now, knowing that it can't get much worse at quarterback, whether it's going to be Tyler Shook, whether it's going to be Spencer Rattler, Jake, what's his name? Haener, yeah. It can't get much worse. So I would think that Olave's ADP is going to be affected by that. How much did you, and I know you just explained your wide receiver situation in this draft as well, but how much did you like that pick? What do you think about Olave here going forward, knowing that quarterback situation is no bueno?
Yeah, well, it's not good, but I mean, the rookie that they drafted at QB has a lot of experience, and I'd be shocked if he is as bad as Spencer Rattler. And Derek Carr is not. I mean, he's not what he once was. So I still think Olave could put up some numbers. Plus, I think the Saints are going to be a bad team, so they're probably going to have to throw the ball pretty often. It's just a matter if Olave keeps the concussions under control and doesn't miss time because of them. I think he's going to be a value at that spot.
I think he's going to be more than a value, guys. And John, I will quit the hardest soft sell immediately, but it is important to tell the listeners that the experience he received was in Louisville, the same place you'll be having your experience here in August. But a lot of scouts, that's the scouting process, and a lot of people that I really trust in football say one thing about Tyler: he can make all the passes. And wouldn't you love to have a rookie quarterback who can make all the passes, that's got a little experience, that's got a good head, playing in a dome, targeting the number one receiver on that team, who then they don't really have the greatest tight end presence. So I see Olave and the running back getting maybe 100 catches each, almost as many as Pittman. So, so we're in a situation there where I love Olave for this team. So if you love him like I do, you probably don't. But if you love him, would this be a player in Dynasty to be trying to acquire a trade right now? And what would be a suitable way to go about that?
I haven't really looked into buying him, but I mean, I guess it would depend what the price is. I mean, if he was fairly cheap, I'd buy him. He just comes with extra risk in a dynasty perspective, just because of the concussions and because of the long-term situation.
Okay.
A lot of questions.
Long-term situation. The Chicago Bears backfield is a real humorous commentary there. When you draft, I was in some dynasty drafts. I told Balky, I confessed to Balky last week that I just said, you know what, he looks the part, I'm going to just draft him. I didn't have time to do the research. I think when you took Roschon Johnson at the 1705 after first drafting DeAndre Swift at the 705, I'm thinking that this is some of your choreographed genius. Or did you just look at Roschon Johnson and say, what the hell, I'll get a handcuff? How are you doing it?
Well, I mean, I think in the Ben Johnson offense, I mean, you're going to want the running backs, right? If he has any type of success in pulling together what he did in Detroit. And I mean, he made, very legitimate starters out of Gibbs and Montgomery and supported two backs. And I mean, I think he can do the same thing in Chicago. It's just the backs are less talented and there's more risk associated with it, because still a possibility they could bring someone else in.
So the answer is yes. You knew that and you were looking for it.
Yeah, well, I will say in my dynasty drafts, I also drafted a fair amount of their other rookie that they took late.
Kyle Manungai.
Yeah, late in drafts, just because I want, that's a situation where I want the guy that's going to get a lot of the work. And I think the rounds that I took those guys in, it's worth the risk, right? You're definitely not overpaying. I don't think it's worth it.
I just like the idea of not that because of Manungai you didn't lock up the backfield, but I mean, you got the two big pieces of a Ben Johnson offense. Now, is Ben Johnson going to be a really good head coach? Is this going to blow up in their face? I don't know. But what's it going to cost for you to get the starting running back on this team? A 7th round pick and a 17th round pick. I think that's a bet worth making in early May. So I liked it. I thought it was really good. And by the way, Ferrell, I have added choreographed genius to my list of fantasy football team names.
Yeah, that's a good team name for you.
Yeah, one of them is going to be that. I don't know which one is going to happen this season. Let's keep on the Bears here, John. Ben Johnson now coaching Caleb Williams. How bullish are you on Caleb Williams this year? I just think back, a lot of stuff went wrong. Did not have the offensive line. Offensive line definitely improved this year. You add Luther Burden, you add Colston Loveland, and now you add Ben Johnson. I think there's a lot to like about this situation. Do you see it the same way?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like, what else could they have done for him in the offseason? I mean, is there any other moves that could make that offense potentially any better? I mean, I don't think so. I think they improved everywhere that they needed to be. So I think that the real question in my mind is just whether Caleb Williams can speed up his processing. Like, I know a lot of people, gave him props last year for having so few interceptions, but it's only because he held the ball so long that he took 1 million sacks and wouldn't.
There's a 68 sack guy, I think.
So as long as he picks up the offense and he can go through his reads quickly, I mean, I think sky's the limit.
Farrell, just looked it up. Caleb Williams last year was sacked exactly 68 times.
The number right and the name wrong.
Yeah, that happens.
So, John, you're neutral on Caleb Williams?
No, I mean, I like him at where he's getting drafted. I mean, it just comes with some risk, right? So he can't be like your only QB.
Well, in early October or even mid-October, I guess, they were 4-2. And they looked like they were going the right direction. And then, wheels fall off and everything went to hell. Deebo Samuel is no longer 49er, and I thought I would never see that. Deebo Samuel playing in another uniform, that to me, that's a little more shocking than even Austin Eckler playing in a Commander's uniform. What is he going to have a year that reminds us of who Deebo Samuel is? Historically drafted in the 3rd round and usually plays above his draft position in fantasy ball. Tell us what's going to happen down the road from you.
Yeah, I mean, I like Deebo. The question is just whether age is catching up to him or not. I mean, it kind of looked like it might be last year, but if he can, if he's got another year in him, he's just such a diverse player that you can use so many different ways around the line of scrimmage. And I think with, Jaden Daniels there, I mean, I think they have got a lot of potential for him to put up some decent points, especially you don't have to take him in the 3rd round anymore. So yeah. I think where he's going, it's worth the risk. And yeah, I was shocked to see him get moved too. I mean, he and Kittle were seemed to be the core of that Niners team. And so that makes me, wonder a little bit, like what were the Niners saying that they were willing to let him go? But I mean, I'll take the gamble with whatever round I took him in. Might have been the 8th round.
Yeah.
In this Genesis draft, you ended up grabbing him, Deebo Samuel. It was the 8th round.
Yeah.
The 8, whatever it would be, 808. And I think what's interesting about that is to kind of what you were saying already, John. This is not a 3rd round player anymore. But he could return potentially. The ceiling is 3rd round value, right? Deebo Samuel, wide receiver 38. Even if you don't like Deebo Samuel, I think you have to start taking a long look at him when you get to that middle of the 7th round, when you get to be where John Terry was at the middle of the 8th round. And, Calvin Ridley, Jordan Addison, Juwan Jennings, those are your options there. Deebo Samuel looks awfully, awfully shiny. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
Now another receiver that was had already had his heyday, and his best football is behind him, but we don't know if he has some good football in store. Now you have to go a little bit further down the draft board to see Cooper Kupp stand after Deebo Samuel. But Cooper Kupp is going at the 907. Kupp is the wide receiver 45 right now. This is Matthew Golden, Brandon Ayuk territory. Do you think that FFPC players are letting him slip too far in drafts? Oftentimes we see these, one of these aging receivers kind of defy the odds and then come out of nowhere and churn out a top 20 season. And he's wide receiver 45 right now, John.
Yeah, I think in Genesis, I think I took him at 10-8. I think it's where I got him. And yeah, I mean, he's another guy that's worth the risk, right? I mean, it could be that he's done, and if he is, then you move on and you grab someone else. But he's got that high ceiling still, so he's worth the gamble.
Guys, the Seattle Seahawks paid $44 million on a 2-year contract for this player.
Yeah,
I don't think he's done. I think we can follow that money, and we can, he had passed physical before he got that deal.
Right.
So, I don't think we're doing.
Just real quick about Kupp, Ferrell. The other thing to keep in mind, to your point, really, is what did the Seahawks do outside of signing Kupp? They traded DK Metcalf to the Steelers. They let Tyler Lockett go, who's now with the Titans. And then in the draft, I know there's a lot of pundits out there that were saying Seattle's going to take a receiver in the first round or on day 2, especially with that extra second-round pick they got from Pittsburgh. They didn't take a receiver until the 5th round, and then they took another one in the 7th. So to me, and I've been trying to tell myself a Torrey Horton story in dynasty drafts, right? That this guy's going to take over, that Kupp is dust, and the 2026 is going to be the year of Torrey Horton. But at the same time, I think we have to understand, what is John Schneider doing there? He is basing his team, or at least his wide receiver room, around 2 guys, Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp. And maybe we as FFPC, as fantasy football drafters, should be taking notice of that.
Yeah, that's a good point, Paul.
Yeah, my only question about that is, you probably want to play both those guys in the slot, so I don't know exactly how that passing game's going to look. But again, I still think he's worth the risk. I mean, you got to take JSN in early round 3.
I like the receiver room. I like the receiver room.
Oh, yeah, you're right, John. 302 right now, wide receiver 13 for Smith and Jigba.
I like that receiver room. Balky, well, where did Tajay Brooks go to school?
Taj Brooks was at Texas Tech, I want to say.
Texas Tech.
It was Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
They are no stranger, those Red Raiders, to not having great defenses, but having high-flying offenses.
Yeah, they do.
And
Devin Neal and Brashard Smith. Who's your favorite of those guys? Who do you like on those running backs? Because I have said it earlier tonight, and I've been beating the drum for this, that Bucky Irving last year was no mistake, and we're going to find multiple Bucky Irvings in this deep draft, the 5th, 6th, 7th round, even and earlier than that, but definitely in those rounds, there's going to be some star power that really can make fantasy football a difference. Who do you like best, or do you like all 3 of them? And educate the listeners about them.
I mean, if I had to pick one, even though he's going the latest, I would take Taj Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
He's the most well-rounded of the backs, and I mean, the Bengals, other than if something happens to Chase Brown, I think he's going to be the number 2. And one of the things that he had positive grades on coming out of school was his pass protection. So, I mean, I think he could be a 3-down back. Yeah. I mean, I think last year, the interesting stat coming up for the college running backs last year is 2 running backs last year rushed for over 100 yards in every game played. One was Ashton Genty, and the other one was Brooks.
Just comparing these 3 guys here, Devin Neal, I think his athletic profile has turned me off so much, and I know that he could be the guy in 2026 because Kendra Miller has failed to stay on the field, and Alvin Kamara, I don't know how much juice is left in the tank there. So Neal is more of like a 2026 play. Hard to like him this year. And then Brashard Smith. I mean, all these people are falling all over themselves for Brashard Smith. It's like there's still Pacheco there, right?
Yeah.
And then they went out and signed the guy from San Francisco, Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah,
is there as well. But Brooks, to your point, John, if something were to happen to Chase Brown, they do have Zach Moss there. He's coming off a pretty serious injury. And I never really thought Chase Brown was going to be able to be a bell cow. And perhaps the Bengals maybe don't want him being a 3-down guy. They want somebody else rotating in. And I think Brooks is that has a lot of possibilities for best ball and for redraft too. That's the type of guy you stash on your bench. And if Chase Brown misses, like, it might only be like a 3 or 4 week span, but all of a sudden Brooks becomes flexible there. And I think that's what makes him attractive.
Yeah. And I mean, those other guys are worth taking, just shots on late, and you can drop them if they don't turn into anything. But I mean, with Brooks, Brooks versus Neal, for instance,
no comment.
What's Neal's upside? Would you rather have the back from the Bengals or the Saints?
Yeah.
And then my biggest problem with Smith is that he's kind of the opposite in Brooks, in that he's starting at 0 in pass protection. And what's it going to take for them to put him out there with Mahomes? I don't know. He may get playing time, he may not.
Email here. We're going to keep it on the running back situation in the AFC North, but we'll go to Cleveland here. Rich in Kearns, Utah, John wants to know, are FFPC drafters wrong to bury Jerome Ford right now? The Browns, thank you for the email, Rich in Kearns, Utah. We appreciate it. But you look at the Browns in the draft, Quinshawn Judkins early in the second round, and then they double down and they take Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. And Jerome Ford's like, I'm still on this team, right? Running back 67 is where FFPC players are taking him in the Big Gorilla. He goes at the 1609. Clearly the most proven running back there right now is Ford, at least from a professional standpoint, John. Probably another guy you're just taking a stab on late. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it worth taking a guy like him, knowing that this is a young man's game and the Browns invested into 2 young men in rookies this year that they think are a big part of their future?
Yeah, this is a hard one. Ford coming in this year was one of my most owned dynasty running backs, and to say I was less than thrilled after the draft is an understatement. But with bringing in both Judkins and Sampson, I think Ford's going to play early, but yeah, the writing's on the wall. Regardless of whether we think he's a good player, Cleveland's coaching staff obviously disagrees.
And the other thing too is, and the schedule came out tonight, the buys don't start till week 5. And so maybe you could use Ford in September, maybe early October. But then once you need to start plugging them in for bye week guys, that could be like Judkins maybe he has the control of the backfield at that point. So then it's kind of like, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, it's hard to see his role because even if Judkins is like the early down guy, and then Sampson comes in as the pass catching back, where exactly does Ford play? I don't know.
I have a question. Has Ford ever won you anything in fantasy football?
He has plugged in for me in certain weeks where I was happy I started him. I don't know if he's ever won me a championship.
Yeah. Same for me. But again, did we even draft Ford? He was probably a waiver wire guy that I picked up. So it's not like I invested a ton in him. But he passes the eye test on the field. He looked like a decent player. He was definitely a hell of a lot better than Chubb last year.
It's just like one of your favorite players that passed the eye test and scored 45 points in a week for me. That was, Claypool. You're a big Claypool guy because of the eye test and the fact that he won some things for me.
John, another email here for you. This is coming from Jay in Queens. He writes, "Hiya, John. Does Zach Ertz have one more good season in him? Thank you, Jay in Queens, for the email. We appreciate it." Ertz right now, John, in the FFPC Big Gorilla, his ADP is sitting at why do I not see it here?
It's way down there.
Maybe I didn't scroll down far enough. I know where they're taking Zach Ertz right now. Tight end 22 at the 12-11.
Yeah, I was going to say somewhere around the 13th round. I did a Big Gorilla a couple nights ago, and I lost out on tight end almost everywhere. And I took him on that team, I think, in the 13th round. And I think he's got another year in him. He's kind of like that guy that's like I don't know, a Jason Witten or somebody like that. I mean, he does at his age. He doesn't have to be a great athlete. He just has to run down the field, find an open spot, and turn around and catch the ball, right?
Kind of what Travis Kelce's doing right now.
Yeah, you get a point and a half every time, right? So, I mean, I think he's worth the risk.
I think he's fantastically athletic and a quarterback that needs him. And how I wanted to interrupt when you said I did a big gorilla by saying that's what she said, but I held it. I really did. I held.
Where's Dub Cap when you need him? He would be rolling on the floor right now.
I didn't want to do that to you, John.
You like Ertz at the 12-11, John, better than his real life teammate Ben Sinnott at 17-12?
Yeah, I don't see Sinnott playing a lot this year. Okay. I don't know. I mean,
there's a cautionary trail of everyone that says the rookie's going to take the job away. You remember how they just gave the job? Everyone in fantasy football is just giving the job to Sinnott.
Yeah. It's not unlike, and like I know you guys aren't baseball guys, but like when you play fantasy baseball, it's like how many times do people pick up the closer in waiting off the waiver wire? Oh, this guy's got the best stuff. He misses bats, and then the old crafty veteran who just seems to get it done. It just continues to be the closer, and all these guys that everybody just assumes was going to be the guy never becomes the guy. The list is long for that. And the list is long for, rookies that just were expected to seize the job and they never did, or they haven't yet.
John, what's Balky talking about?
I know I shouldn't have brought that up. I at least I didn't bring up a basketball or a hockey reference.
Oh, remember when I said it would be a slam dunk? I would hung my head in shame.
Well, pick your head up, Ferrell, because we have to ask John the most important question of the night.
This is and I don't. Last week's guest, the gentleman that joined us last week, Balky from Arizona.
Scott Brzezicki.
Scott was on fire. For a guy that doesn't have any vowels in his name, he's a well-rounded player. And he answered this question better than anybody, but I thought about it. I said, you know what? It's going to be a 1-week reign because this is the greatest question for John Terry. I want to know who you will not touch, the guy you are looking to avoid, and the guy you must have. But the reasons you don't like players are so well rooted in disgust of their actual being as a football player that I am so forward to looking at the guy that will not make your draft sheets. That's the one I want to hear first. Well, I'll take them in any order you want to give them, but I'm on the edge of my seats.
Well, I mean, the one that disgusts me the most that I just won't touch at all, and I'll never have him on any of my drafts. There's no way you're going to get me to draft Brandon Ayuk this year. No way. I mean,
that's good.
He's coming.
Monkey, were you expecting that?
No, I was not, but I'm curious to hear this.
I mean, I know he's going in like the 9th round, but he's coming off a pretty bad injury. Maybe he's going to come back middle of the year, best case scenario. Mm-hmm. And I think he's only had flashes of being a good player. I don't think he really even established himself before the injury as someone that was really good. I mean, he had his problems getting on the field in San Francisco, problems with the coaching staff, and then he flashed for a while. But I just don't think he's that good.
The other thing too, and I brought this up, and I promise this is the last baseball reference of the night. But I was listening to a fantasy baseball analyst talk about this a few years ago during drafting season. And I think this is something that I've done in all my fantasy leagues. I rarely draft players that are already hurt coming into the season, or maybe a better way to put it is not healthy coming into the season. Because I know my guys that I draft who are healthy, a lot of them are going to get hurt. So why am I adding on these injured guys at the start of the season? It just makes it a lot more harder to manage.
I agree, especially like FFPC. I mean, it's a shorter season.
That's a good point. So we've had a double header of baseball analogies.
Yeah, there you go, Ferrell. I love it. We know you're not on IU, John. Is there somebody that you're on maybe later on in the draft, a guy that you've really been targeting when we get to the double-digit rounds?
Well, the two guys I like most versus ADP are early guys. I think the guys FFPC that are going later than they should are Trey McBride and Rashee Rice.
Oh, okay.
Those are both guys I want to have on as many teams as I can. I know McBride's probably going around like end of the first round, but I think he should be going like 6th or 7th in the first round. I mean, if you look at his, I mean, no one is questioning Bowers this year. I haven't seen anyone that's like down on Bowers at all. And I mean, if you like the touchdowns kind of come and go, right? And if you added 3 touchdowns to McBride last year, he's the same as Bowers.
Yeah.
And his situation hasn't really changed. I mean, I don't think his QB is any worse than Bowers' situation. I mean, he seems to be his favorite target. I just think he should be going about the same place that Bowers goes. And then Rice, I think people haven't caught up to the one that he is very likely not going to serve any kind of suspension this year, given the status of his legal case, and then, or lack of legal case, I should say. And then I think on tape, I don't know about you guys, but when I watched Rice play when he was healthy and he was playing well with the Chiefs, and then when I watched Worthy last year, it's pretty clear to me on film that Rice is a better player than Worthy. I know they're different, and I think Rice will be the alpha in that offense. And if Kelsey, you know, he's another year older, he could slow down. And if they put Worthy more into the role that he should be playing in, I mean, I think Rice should be going late second round.
Yeah, he's going right now. Rashee Rice is 3'11", wide receiver 17. I will be the first to admit I was really impressed, and I was wrong about Xavier Worthy last year. I thought he did some things, especially down the stretch, that I didn't think he was going to be capable of, especially as a rookie. But I think a lot of that was out of necessity because you had Kelsey slowing down. You had no Rice. Hopkins was basically dust.
Right.
And they couldn't really get a whole lot going with the running game, surprisingly, too. So I think a lot of that stuff with Worthy, they just had to have somebody. This year, to your point, I think he's going to be more that traditional field flipper. He's going to get his, as far as stuff over the middle and underneath routes. But I think you're going to see a lot more Rashee Rice, and I think from a fantasy standpoint, I think you want to have more Rice than Worthy this year for sure. So I'm with you on that as well. And I will say on the McBride tip, and Ferrell, I don't know how you feel about this. Wouldn't surprise me at all as we get deeper into drafting season that Bowers and McBride are going instead of Bowers being at the 105 and McBride going at the 112, I could see McBride up at the 107 and the 106. I'm almost positive we're going to see that in some of the varsities and the high societies and the big paybacks out at Paris and in Las Vegas. If you put those guys next to each other and you look at the stats and you take the touchdowns away, you look at it and like, why is this guy going, 2/3 of a round later? He shouldn't be. And I think that's what's going to happen as we get closer.
I think that's a good assessment.
Yeah, I think their ceiling's higher too, because I mean, we're talking about that touchdown differential, but I mean, they both have upside to pick up because it was like the one guy had 4 touchdowns, the other guy had 1.
Yeah.
And they still put up all those points because really in the 1.5 for FFPC, if you get tight ends that catch over 100 balls, I mean, that's worth a ton.
Balky, may I have a pop-up question?
Yes, you can. Just real quick. Bowers had 1 more catch than McBride last year.
Yeah.
Bowers had 48 more receiving yards. And then technically he only had 3 more touchdowns because McBride did get that weird rushing touchdown in week 15 or whatever it was. But yeah, I mean, they're it's like the Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other. That's kind of how it is. Ferrell Elliott's pop-up question of the week.
Pop-up question, and I could be wrong because I don't listen to as much content as you do, John, and Balky, as you produce. But I think the thing that I'm hearing the least about that's most intriguing to me is our new is our new receiver, Adams, at the Los Angeles Rams. And I would really like to hear, first of all, I would like your opinion, if I'm correct on that it just doesn't seem to be a lot of commentary about it. And I'm curious what John sees from that.
Yeah, no, I like Adams. I think he's gonna play well with the Rams. I like Stafford. I like the offense. I like McVay, and I mean they've always had condensed targets. So I think it's going to be him and Puka with Kyron running the ball, and I mean we'll see if we get much of anything out of the tight end. I don't know. I don't really see Ferguson coming out of the gate and being all that, maybe towards the end of the year. But I Adams didn't show me anything last year for me to think that he's done. And he was also when I won the Genesis League last year, he was on my team, and he pretty much carried me last couple of weeks of the playoffs. I really like Adams this year.
There you go. And, I really like Tom Smith. It's just a real subtle hint there to you, John, just a public service announcement, especially for you. Our guys are counting down the days, John. That's all I'm saying.
I will say I'm working on it. I have a home league that I've been in since 1991 that always drafts that Saturday that you guys are in Louisville. It's like a fixed date on the calendar, and that's always the weekend that we draft. But
we have a private room that will allow you to come in online. We'll get you set up.
I did convince Biplab to come to Vegas, so he's going to be co-owning some main events with me. So if he makes a trip down to Kentucky this year, there's a chance that
he already owns a ticket.
I will say just real quick about the Davante Adams thing, where he's going in drafts right now. I think you can make a case. I'm not saying I would do this, but I think you can make a case for him over McLaurin. I definitely think that there are people taking him ahead of Tyreek Hill right now.
I would take him over both those guys.
Okay. And then I would take him over Marvin Harrison. He's already going ahead of DJ Moore. I'd take him ahead of him and Mike Evans for sure, and Xavier Worthy, obviously. I think the one guy he's going next to that I don't think I would take him over is the guy you were just talking about, John, in Rashee Rice. I think that I would take him over Adams, but Adams at the 401 right now, I feel real warm, toasty, and cozy with him as my second or third receiver there for sure. I think
Pearson drops in about the Stafford, and that's a good point too, Balk.
Yeah, when you consider that Stafford is going to have Nakua and, to me, a massive upgrade on Cooper Kupp last year in Davante Adams. And to your point, John, I think Ferguson more comes on at the end of the year. But, yeah, I think Stafford going as late as he is, that's another steal.
I just think you have to be careful with Stafford. I mean, Puka's had these great years. Kupp's had these. I mean, how many games are you pointing to where you said Stafford put up great stats? I mean, it's such a condensed targets there that, like, Puka gets 15 catches for 180 yards, and Stafford doesn't even get to 300 yards. I don't know.
There is something to be said for that. However, I think that's baked into his ADP. He's being
yeah. I agree. For where you're getting him.
Yeah. So I would not say he is the panacea that you need for your fantasy football team. But I would say, like, in a pinch, if you need, I mean, I think about some of my quarterback situations the last couple of years where I'm scrambling for like a warm body on the waiver wire. If I could look to Stafford on a bye week or injury, I'm going to have limited expectations. But at the same time, Nakua and Adams, I feel a lot better about it.
He's just one of those guys that's a much better NFL quarterback than fantasy.
Fantasy, for sure. Absolutely. At least now. Back in the day when on those bad Lions teams when he was chucking the ball all over the field, man, he had some juicy scores back then for fantasy.
But tonight they announced the schedule. Do you spend much time reviewing that schedule at all?
The only thing that I looked at, and this kills me every year, and what is this, maybe like fourth or fifth year now, but no, I mean, I play a lot of FFPC, right? And I play a lot of the main event, Big Gorilla, and I always look at the playoff weeks, and because in order to make money, like, it's great to try to win the $1 million, right? But you got to win your share of your individual leagues. So I immediately looked and I see that San Francisco, the Giants, the Pats, and the Panthers, all their players went down in value to me, because you're not going to have any of them for the title game.
And I will say this too. Okay, it is the Panthers, it is the Patriots. It could have been worse. Like, it could have been like the Commanders or the Bills or the Lions or something like that.
Yeah. It could have been worse, but I mean,
it could have been 6 teams.
You got Neighbors, McCaffrey, Kittle.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not great. It's not great, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, you got to work around it, but it's just that, like, you're drafting some of your teams before you have this information. So,
yeah. Well, and then I know, like, a lot of people are going to spend tonight, John, going back on all their best ball teams and see like where the holes are for their bye weeks for, like, kickers and defense. Like, oh God, all 3 of my kickers have the same bye week. That's always fun to look back on as well. It is always fun to talk to you, my friend. John Terry, the 2024 FFPC Genesis champion, a guy who has won more fantasy football leagues than I think I've even entered, as far as his FFPC leagues go. We will hopefully see you in Kentucky. We'll see you in Las Vegas at Paris, John, and keep up all that great choreographed genius that you have had going on during drafting season, my friend.
All right. Good talking to you guys. See you soon.
Absolutely. You got it. That's John Terry, ladies and gentlemen, 2024 FFPC Genesis champ. Will he defend his belt in 2025? That remains to be seen. Ferrell, I wanted just to tell everybody once again, KFFSC.com is where to go. The $10,000 Best Ball Tournament is live. You'll want to sign up for those. I'm already in 2 myself. And then obviously the KFFSC Main Event. I'm in a slow main event draft right now. I'm in a couple of draft masters as well. So the action not only hot and heavy at the FFPC, but KFFSC.com as well.
Yeah, we welcome everyone to come give it a shot.
Ferrell, I will talk with you again. Not this Friday, but next Friday, man. Thanks so much for hanging out with me in the middle of the week.
You're welcome, Balky. And I'll say a brief so long, because I'm going to miss 2 weeks of our upcoming shows. So I'm going to be awfully sad about that.
Okay.
And I'm going to miss you during the month of June.
All right. Okay.
May, and I'll be back in June.
Okay, so the 23rd and the 30th, you are off, but you will return after that.
I can't. Yes, and it's just breaking my heart, Balky.
Yes, I know. Well, we'll find some way to get through it. We will talk with you again in June. Have a great rest of the week, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
That is Ferrell Elliott, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football. Tom wants to know, Tom Smith right now in the chat, how many teams week 14 buy? 4. And once again, nobody on week 13 buys, but there are 4 teams in week 14. And I believe John said it was the Niners, the Patriots, the Panthers, and the Giants was the other one. So those will be the teams that are off on league championship week 4 for the FFPC. Like I said, could have been a lot worse. I want to thank John Terry, Ferrell Elliott, the FFPC, Rob, Bryce, and of course, each and every one of you. We will be back Friday, not this Friday, but the next Friday, which is the 23rd of May. 5-time FFPC Dynasty champ Adam Tountis will join us. I know I said he was going to be on tonight. I screwed that up. Adam is going to join us on the 23rd. So that'll be a lot of fun. In case you missed last Thursday night's Insider Access show on the Better Sports Network, Dave Tripoli and I covered the Hardway Big Gorilla Draft. We had player interviews featuring Abibag Batoba, Darren Armani, Theo Greminger, Bradley Stalder. They all stopped by to talk about their drafts as we covered it. We will be live once again tomorrow at 7 o'clock Eastern time until 9. RotoWire's Alan Soslowski is going to be my guest co-host tomorrow evening. That's going to be a lot of fun for sure. FFPC Big Gorilla, FFPC Main Event, FFPC Best Ball, FFPC Superflex Best Ball Tournaments, and FFPC Dynasty Startups. Check them out at myffpc.com. KFFSC.com is where to go for the 10K Best Ball Tournament and the KFFSC Main Events. If you're not drafting right now, I don't know why you're watching this. Make sure you're getting out there, putting this to good use, have some fun drafting. You never know when you could win life-changing money. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live, which will be tomorrow on FFPC Insider Access with myself and RotoWire's Alan Soslowski. Your weekend kind of starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
One other thing I did forget to mention, I'm not on it, but the FFPC live draft coverage will continue this coming Tuesday, I believe at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Aiden LaCory, Dave Terpoli covering a live FFPC Big Gorilla draft. And if you want to sign up for that and see what those guys have to say live on YouTube and the FFPC socials, I do believe there are still spots available for that. I'm looking it up right now just to confirm. Yes, live on YouTube. There's only one team in that draft, and it's at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday. So if you want to be live on YouTube, have everybody hear what they think of your draft, sign up now at myffpc.com. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in on a Wednesday show, and I will talk with you again tomorrow night with Alan Soslowski. Be good.